Hello everyone and welcome to another set of videos for today. Hope you're all doing really well. I'm very excited to, of course, be focusing on the glorious Empire this morning. So basically, I'm just going to be kind of wrapping up the rest of the really notable free LC changes that I'm going to put into their own videos. There are various places you can go around my videos to see any other missing pieces of content. I do have like a really nice long Epidemia stream up on the channel. We did a big Thorgrim stream yesterday, and we might do an Empire one today just to kind of round everything out. But beyond that, you do also have, if you go, for instance, watch my Epidemia stream, you can find plenty of footage showing off the Nemesis Crown. I even managed to not only acquire it, but level it up to its maximum level, which I would not recommend doing in most campaigns because it is very painful. It's powerful, don't get me wrong, but man, the debuffs. Anywho. So, today, let's dive into checking out what has changed with the Empire. I, of course, have already made a video about Balthazar Gelt you can go watch, but today we're going to be mostly focusing on Karl Franz. Though, real quick, I am just going to kind of go through the little intro movies for the old characters of the various races, just to let you kind of see them real quick. Well, I guess we'll just do this for the Empire ones, and then later on I can do all of them. But, so here you can see that Karl Franz is quite different now. He's changed rather substantially, so he uniquely has access to the Electrocount troops right from the start of his campaign. All of the other Empire characters have to use their tech tree and a pretty considerable amount of money in order to unlock the various Electrocount troops. I want to say it's 7,500 gold per 2 types, so it's like there's like the light infantry version, the heavy infantry version, the war machine version, the like chariot version, the artillery version, and each of those is 7,500 gold each, which just gives you access to them. Whereas Karl Franz starts with access to them through using the old Electrocount system, which is really nice. So he doesn't have to pay a bunch of money to get them. He also is immune to diplomatic penalties for trespassing in the Empire because he is the Emperor. He may go where he pleases. So he, of course, is going to be running around doing whatever he wants, but this is really nice, especially for the way some of his mechanics work. You are heavily encouraged to be traveling around the Empire, even if you don't own it. He also gets plus 10% campaign movement for all armies, which is great. Plus 5 growth for every ally that he has, so you're very heavily encouraged to be the greatest statesman in the world. And you also gain bonus Allegiance points, very similar to what you have like with Techless. So he's able to pull in allied units into his armies much easier than most other factions. For his personal lord effects, the big thing is that he gives a lot of buffs to your Electrocount units. So every experience rank that the Electrocount units have, they get 5% extra weapon strength and missile strength. They're 20% cheaper upkeep reduction wise, and you also can replenish in neutral territory with Karl Franz no matter where you go in the world, which is an extremely powerful ability. Because it just gives you a lot more options about how you want to navigate the world, and combos very nicely with the diplomatic penalties thing to make sure that you can run around the Empire and fight the foes of the Empire while not necessarily owning the territory yourself. And then you'll see for his starting army, he's got a pretty nice starting army. You know, you got all these classic things, but he also gets the Carroburg Greatswords right at the start, which is super duper nice. So there's that. Gelt, we already talked about in the Gelt video, but I'll just kind of hover on the screen so you can see where he's got the Colleges of Magic, and he's really heavily focused on just sorcery now. Marcus Wolfhard, I believe, is the exact same. I don't think he's changed. Like, he has a new tech tree now, but other than that, he's basically the same. And Volkmar is, I also believe, pretty much the same as well. You know, he still has a really strong focus on Witch Hunters, Warrior Priests, Flagellants, Empire Knights, and Free Company Militias. So he's really big on buffing your Witch Hunters, your Priests, and making a lot of your low to mid-tier units exceptionally more powerful than they normally are, which makes for a really good experience, I think. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop into a Karl Franz campaign. And for once, I'm not actually just going to skip to it because it's not that long of a load-in. Because luckily for me, I have the Engine of the Gods, which is a mighty PC, thanks to all of y'all's support over the years, so thank you for that. But I will say Karl Franz does have a very solid campaign now. I personally think it's incredibly fun just because of the amount of unique little gimmicks he has access to. He is pretty spectacular, to be honest. The Empire has really kind of landed on a rather unique circumstance of every single character, every single legendary lord having their own mechanics, which I don't think is by any means required for every faction in the game, just because I think there's times where that can start to rapidly approach a form of bloat if you're not careful. And it also can be like ticking a box for the sake of ticking a box, but in the Empire's case, it works exceptionally well. So you'll see here that his tech tree looks smaller than many of the other characters because he does not have the state troop tree. He doesn't need it. He just has the regular Empire tree minus that. However, like every Empire character, all of them have a unique skill tree or a tech tree right here. So for Balthazar Gelt, he has some stuff that buffs his ability to like gain the magic books he needs for his various mechanics. And Wolfheart has unique techs that have to do with the way that he gets troops from the elector counts and all of that jazz. So they kind of just squeeze it in here. For Karl Franz, you get the Conclave of Light, which allows your diplomatic talk feature to expand to include significantly more factions. And then you have the Emperor of the Empire, which buffs all of your Emperor's decrees. So you may be wondering, what the hell are those? Well, allow me to show you. So this is what makes Franz particularly exciting. You have access, of course, to your Imperial authority, which I already talked about at length in the Gelt video, but you get various buffs for making sure that more of the Empire is controlled by Empire factions. But Karl Franz uniquely now has access to Prestige and Elector Count Prestige. So basically, by making the other forces in the Empire happy, and making sure the Empire is like properly controlled and things are going well, you will earn Elector Count Prestige, along with being able to earn it from buildings, battles, events, and all sorts of other stuff. And as you earn them, you will still get dilemmas, right? So you'll still get the dilemmas where it'll be like, oh, Minland and Talabecland have gotten into a border dispute, and they're going to declare war on one another. What will you do? And you have the dilemma of you could side with Minland, you can side with Talabecland, or if you have enough prestige, you can spend prestige to tell them, no, stop it, both of you behave, and make the war not happen. But you're also now able to use it as a resource in this new system, which you can upgrade using your tech tree later on. So you have Call to Arms, which gives you a cheaper recruitment cost and +1 capacity in a province. So you would target a settlement like Altdorf, and everyone in that province gets cheaper recruitment cost and capacity. You can do Commendation, which is super fun to spam, because it only has a 3-turn cooldown, which allows you to select the Lord and immediately give them 2,500 experience to just power level them. Open the Gates, which allows you to immediately add a population surplus, which is super duper nice. Inquisition, which allows you to select a region, and that province has all of its corruption immediately lowered by 50. So for instance, if good old oh my goodness, Dr. Festus comes down into Hockland and he's causing all sorts of problems and Hockland's becoming super chaos corrupted, you could use this ability to reduce all forms of corruption by 50 to slow Nurgle down. You can do the same thing against the vampire counts, where as long as the forces are controlled by an Empire faction, you can attempt to slow the vampiric corruption. You have Conscription, which allows you to select an army and immediately finish 1 turn of recruitment, all forms of recruitment, which is very, you'll notice is identical to an ability that Bo has, which allows Karl Franz to go 1 for 1 with the Jade Dragon, which is excellent. Send Aid, this one is an extremely powerful ability, in that it allows you to select an allied settlement that you do not own, that's and you it has to be an Empire faction, but you spawn an army that cannot heal and will degrade over time, but you spawn an army there immediately to help them out with whatever's going on. So like, if I know Vlad von Karstein is coming into the moot and he's causing problems and I have enough prestige to use, I could target the moot and unleash a bonus army who's going to be able to help fight and hold off our mutual foe. In addition, though, it increases the fealty by 2, which you're going to want the fealty as high as it can be, maxing out at 10, because the higher it is, the happier they will be. And also, you don't have to worry about them trying to secede from you. Requisition, this allows, if you use this, it immediately makes all of your elector count state troops immediately replenish. So obviously, Karl Franz is currently the only character with access to this tree now. But, you know, if you're like, oh, I want another unit of Caribou Greatswords after I already have some. So, oh, look, I've got 14 turns till I can recruit my next ones. Well, if you use Requisition, you can immediately recruit them, which is nice. Casus Belli, one of those. This allows you to declare war on another Empire faction without it causing fealty to plummet with all of the other ones. So you can see that declaring war on other elector counts will negatively affect your fealty with all of the other ones, which is obviously very, very bad, because that might cause a full-on civil war to start. And then Unify, which is that if a elector count faction has 10 fealty, if you use Unify on them, you immediately confederate them, no questions asked, and all other elector counts fealty drops by 2. But this is really, so this is your confederation mechanic for Karl Franz. All other forms of diplomacy, so military alliances, defensive alliances, all that stuff is handled through the normal bar. So you can see here, you can go all the way up to a military alliance, which is a really nice change, because in the older version of this mechanic, you could not do some of these, like a lot of these weren't around. I think, if I recall correctly, I don't think you could make defensive alliances, or something like that, but it was much more frustrating because it basically forced you to confederate. And then if you got them to the appropriate confederation level and you said, like, no, I can't confederate you right now, you had to wait 10 turns. Whereas this ability is very nice because it only has a 5-turn cooldown, and B, it allows you to confederate whenever you want. Then you have the electoral machinations. This is very straightforward. You'll remember this mechanic from the old system, where it allows you to take 2 factions and manipulate their relations towards one another, just like the High Elf system. However, you'll notice that back in the tech tree, you can upgrade your electoral machinations so that instead of manipulating only Empire factions, you can manipulate instead Empire, High Elf, Kislev, Bretonnian, Dwarf, and Cathayan factions. So pretty much all of the really, like, settled order factions of the world, excluding the Lizardmen, who of course don't care for such things. But nor the Wood Elves, because they're far more isolationist, and if you're going to want to manipulate them, good luck with that. They don't really care for your politics. So that's a lot of really, really awesome, sexy stuff for Karl Franz. You do, of course, have his new improved skill tree, which is very, very nice. So Karl Franz looking good as always. You've got stuff like the Leader of Men, which increases the pool capacity for the amount of state troops that you have sitting, waiting to be recruited by a unit. Also increases his leadership size. The other big things are his unique skills. So some of these have been improved just a little bit, where you got Best of the Empire, which improves Lord Recruit rank faction-wide, recruit rank for Karl Franz's army, and experience gain for Karl Franz's army, which are all fantastic. You get Imperial Special Forces, which gives you +8 melee attack and +5 charge bonus, and +10 bonus versus infantry on all of your Greatsword units, and your Reichsguard, with the Reichsguard getting bonus versus large instead of bonus versus infantry. So this makes Franz particularly good at having, like, the Caribou Greatswords, because once you get those series of buffs on them, they become absolutely insane. Not to mention that they're, you know, bathed in blood, so they're constantly buffing the units around them, and they're unbreakable, which is just fantastic. The Emperor's Men, this further buffs all of your elector count troops, so they get an additional +10 armor, -15% vigor loss reduction, +5 leadership, and +5% missile strength. So if you think about this, this is pretty nasty, especially for the ranged units, because keep in mind that Karl Franz also has the mechanic where for every rank that they have, they get an additional 5% damage. So a rank 9 missile unit would have +50% missile strength, whereas the melee units are going to have +45% weapon strength. Heroic Knightly Band makes your Empire captains, gives you more of them, makes them higher rank as long as you recruit them near Franz. It also gives you a further 15% upkeep reduction for all knight units, which is really powerful when you consider that, you know, that'll stack with Quartermaster for 9%, and then you get 15% for 24, and then there are 4, I believe, knightly places in the Empire that give you access to this, which knocks off another 5%, because you have the one for the Knights Panther, the one for the Knights of the Blazing Sun, this one for the Reichsguard, and then the one for the new Knights of the Black Rose. So that is another 20%. So you can get some absolutely maddening reduction costs, upkeep reduction costs for knights in Karl Franz's army. Non-Demigryph knights, I should say. You then have Majestic Enforcer, which gives you a lot of growth and control where Franz is. And then, of course, Emperor's Journey, which gives you the weapon strength, perfect vigor, and unbreakable, which just makes getting up to getting good old Galmoraz all the sweeter, which, you know, pretty sexy weapon with the sundering attacks, all the bonus damage, anti-chaos gimmicks, and the sexy big buff. So can't go wrong with it. Anywho, the other things that are really worth noting about the Franz campaign is that they did make the beginning of it a little easier because you start with control of Helmgart. So Helmgart no longer has seceded at the start of your campaign. The secessionists have attempted to take it, but were repelled by the defenders. So you're able to just kind of immediately go in on turn 1, go to the Council of Burgermeisters to get the growth bonus and construction cost reduction, and just sit on that till you can upgrade it. And that makes where the rebels, you only have to worry about them within this little province, and you don't have to go fight a giant fort in an attempt to bring them down. But that's all the really fun little bells and whistles for Karl Franz. So he brings a lot of really cool new things to the table. He still has access to the Electrocount mechanic, but this is now exclusive to him, which makes it a bit more fun. And of course, you have the Summon the Electrocount's ability. So this ability is incredibly fun if you control all 13 of the Electrocount seats. So you have to, so you can see here that I currently do not control any of them. Or I control the Empire ones.
Yes, I will.
Actually, just this one, really. So, you know, I don't have much control over the Empire right now, and several of these are just absolutely locked because they're owned by bad guys. So if I can manage to get control over all of them, and I've built up enough prestige, you can summon the Electrocounts, which this means that any Electrocounts that are not in a garrison, garrisoned in a city, nor are besieging a settlement, will immediately teleport to wherever Karl Franz is. So if you're holding up in the north against the legions of Tarmacon and Archaon and Valkia and Azazel and Daniel and Throth the Unclean and Throg and just like the hordes of chaos coming down from the north, you can summon the Electrocounts, and all of them, all 12 of the additional Electrocounts will immediately teleport to your location to reinforce Karl Franz, assuming they're not garrisoned or sieged, or sieging something. And that allows you to have that epic summon the Rohirrim moment where all of the Empire has rallied together against a mutual threat, which from a roleplay perspective is just phenomenal. Like, that is a kick-ass mechanic. So those are all the major changes with Emperor Karl Franz. I'm not going to wax too much lyrical, and I don't think this is actually going to be one of the few where I'm not really going to show anything else because all the major changes are kind of very visible from here on the 10. I would say that you're all probably, hopefully, going to really enjoy checking out this campaign, especially if you're an old Empire stan. Everybody knows that Karl Franz is the most played campaign in the game, and his campaign just got substantially more impressive. And I have fiddled around with it quite a bit, and I can say it is a blast. So please do let me know what y'all think about the changes to Karl Franz. And you know what? Here, I got a spicy question for you to prove to me that you watched the whole video. What other legendary lord in the game, you get to pick one, okay? You have to pick one. What other legendary lord would you want next to receive a Karl Franz type update? In the sense that you take a character who currently is just kind of like a lord among their faction, but doesn't really have any unique gimmicks to them, and give them unique gimmicks. You get to pick one. You know what? I'll be a little more generous. Pick a race. So you could say like, okay, I want the High Elves to do it. So like Tyrion gets a unique mechanic and Teclis gets a unique mechanic because neither of them have one right now. Or I'm going to pick the Lizardmen because Kroq-Gar and Mazdamundi don't really have a unique gimmick. Or I'm going to pick, for example, the Skaven because you want to focus on like Queek Headtaker and Lord Skrull. So let me know who would be your top race pick for the next race to receive the kind of updates we've been seeing for all of these races, to be honest. But especially for the Empire, where each of the characters now is quite distinct. I look forward to reading your comments. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye!